This is from my dear friend Avner Levy, fellow Levy like me. Hello, I hear you speak about the Rambam quite often in your videos. What are your thoughts on Rashi? These two people are actually made famous in my little world by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who has his Chassidim learning 3 chapters of Rambam every single day from Mishnah Torah to complete the entire Opus Magnum in 1 year. Or some people read 1 chapter a day, and then they're completed every 3 years. And Rashi from the Baal Shem Tov, Chassidim had a tradition to study Chumash with Rashi as it's a portion to the week. Meaning, on Sunday you read the first aliyah of Shmos, on Tuesday the second, on Monday the second, on Tuesday the third, etc., until Shabbos you read the seventh. These two personalities are actually quite different, and it's interesting to note. The Rambam lived in Egypt, and he was very close to he was a doctor, and he was very close to the viceroy of Egypt. Now, he is, it seems, very apologetic in what he writes, oftentimes, depending on the subject, because he was friends with the government and very careful with what he said. However, he's very strong-worded when it comes to his vision of his thoughts of Christianity versus Islam. He lives in an Islamic country, and he was very sensitive to the fact that they cherished Islam much more than Christianity. And he writes very carefully that a Jew can go into a mosque, but not into a church. And the Muslims clearly believe in one God, but any Christian that says there's 3 gods, that's not Judaism. There's one story with the Rambam. He was having a meal with the Egyptian viceroy, and he said, "Wait a minute! I see you wrote in the Court of Jewish Law, the Mishnah Torah. It's not called Jewish Law, but it's called Mishnah Torah, where he enumerates and elucidates all 613 commandments that God gave to the Jewish people. That if I handle wine, you can't touch the wine, even if it's kosher." So Rambam looks at him. He takes a container of water. He says, "Give me your foot." He gives him his foot. In those days, they didn't wear shoes, I don't think, when they ate. And he poured water over his foot into a basin. Takes the basin. He says, and he drinks it. He drinks it to show him that, look, yeah, Jewish law is Jewish law, but I respect you dearly, and you're not dirty to me. This is just what God's will is. But believe me, I respect you. Now, Rashi on the hand was quite different. There's actually an outstanding video by Rabbi Beryl Wine called Rashi. And it shows historically who this man was. He lived in France, and he was the leader of the generation in France. He came, I think, from Beis Hill, from Beis David, from King David. Unfortunately, he had 2 daughters, so it's not clear that he was able to continue the seed of David, because in Judaism, the lineage, the tribe, goes according to the father, not the mother. Only religion comes from the mother, which is obviously more important than tribe, but still. Now, Rashi is not shy at all about quoting midrashim, miracles, and revealed miracles, and different midrashim. What Rashi did, he wrote a commentary, and he said, "I'm writing this commentary for the 5-year-old child. For the first time, he's understanding the Bible. Because just what is in the Bible is very hard to understand, but with my commentary, he'll be able to understand." And he brings stuff from all over the Gemara, all over the Talmud, all different sources, midrashim, and he really makes the text come to life with not only the written tradition, but the oral tradition as well. Now, the difference is, basically, Rambam was, he was a big fan of Aristotle and Socrates. I mean, this type of thinking, like he wanted to show that Torah makes sense intellectually. Rashi lived in the time of the Crusaders, and the Crusaders, while they were Christian, they were also into these miracles. They had a new miracle in their belief that a man was killed and then he got up and walked around for 3 days, apparently. And they weren't shy about saying that God does miracles. And Rambam was more like scientific in his outlook. You should know that when Rambam was alive, his books were burned, and he was sent into exile spiritually by many communities. It was only the next generation, like there's the Ramban who came after him, Nachmanides, and he kind of spoke up on behalf of the Rambam, and he said, the Rambam wasn't an Epicurus, he wasn't a heretic. And then nowadays, because the Lubavitcher Rebbe, at least in my little circle of Judaism, says to learn Rambam every day, we see how important Rambam is. All the laws of Messiah that the Rebbe would quote come from the Rambam. Hilchos HaMelachim, it's called the Laws of Kings, chapter 11 and 12. Rashi then later goes on, not only to write a commentary on the Torah, he wrote a commentary on the entire Gemara. And if you open up a book of Gemara, you'll see the text, the inside it's called. And on the page, the text has 2 sides. So on the commentary on the left side, it's in Rashi script, it's called. He had a different way of writing the Aleph base. A few letters are different. That's Rashi's commentary on the Talmud, and it makes you understand the Talmud. And if on the left side of the page and commentaries on the right side of the page, it's either way facing the crease. That's what Rashi's commentary. On the right side, it's called Tosfos. This was his grandchildren, Rabbeinu Tam and Rashbam, very famous people. They were on the right, and they disagreed with Rashi. And I was in a Torah class yesterday, and I made this point, and it's a beautiful point. The fact that the Rabbeinu Tam, who's the grandson of Rashi, can disagree with Rashi himself, shows us that Hashem demands that we elucidate Torah each on our own level. Yes, there's one thing you have to have respect for the previous generation, but when the Rabbeinu Tam had a disagreement with his grandfather, not just you have to respect him because he's older in the previous generation, that's his own grandfather, then what's it called? Then how much more so we can disagree, and we are to disagree. And people nowadays, they read Torah and they say, this is it, this is it, I can't think about it anymore. God gave you a God-given intellect, and it's your responsibility to use it in every single aspect of your life, especially in Torah, because it says that if you want to read something, the beauty of Torah to study, look at the Alter Rebbe's chapter, was it 4 or 5, the Tanya. In the beginning, read the first couple chapters. He says that the unity, when a Jew studies Torah, it's like God's wisdom connected with a Jew's brain. He says the unity like this, that can't be found anywhere in the natural world. I can't even give you an analogy, even though Chassidus is replete with analogies. So, you have that. I hope this helps as an introduction. If you have any more questions, Rabbi Avner, please don't be shy. May God Almighty bless you in all that you do. Bye.